Morning, everyone. I'm going to give just a minute for everyone to get signed in, and then we'll get started. All right, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jamie Phelps. I'm the Client Success Lead here at Voyant, and today we're going to be reviewing how to use Voyant as a presentation tool. In this webinar, we will cover the basics of presenting a plan in Voyant. We will cover the data review, the timeline, goals, events, Let's See screen, and presenting proposals such as what-if scenarios. This is going to be recorded. You will receive a recording within 24 hours after this webinar is completed. We're not going to open up this webinar for questions, but if you do have any follow-up questions, we ask that you email us at support@planwithvoyant.com. I've also put that in the chat, as well as links to register for our next webinars that are upcoming. As far as starting off this webinar on presentations, I like to start in the dashboard view. And there's a couple of things that I would recommend doing before your presentation just to set yourself up for success. So the first thing is you'll notice by default you have all of these underlined inline help links. These are really helpful whenever you're planning in the software as they have a lot of great information. But just to avoid you accidentally hitting any of these links and it throwing off your presentation, I would suggest going up to the silhouette icon in the top right, go to Preferences and turn the inline help off. And I would also turn off your dashboard chart, and I will show you why in just a second. So starting off on the dashboard with your clients, it's good to decide on which of these charts you would like to have as the display. You can do assets versus debts, which is the one that we have here, assets by type, which will break them down into taxable, qualified, and non-liquid, and then asset allocation, which shows the breakdown of their investments. I'm going to leave it on assets versus debts. That's going to have your assets, your net worth, and your debts here. And then what I would suggest is initially reviewing the data in the plan with the client. You can do that by either clicking on this down arrow, which opens everything in the plan that you've entered, or if that's a little bit too much information at first, you can also go item by item and just select income. Have there been any changes to your current employment income? Do we need to make any changes to the values of your rainy day fund, your brokerage account, your retirement accounts? Are you still contributing the same amount? If you wanted to take a deeper dive into savings and investments or retirement, you can also look at Show Overview. This will give a breakdown of any asset allocation you have built into the plan, and then you can also click on these at any point if you want to make any changes. All right, and going back, also in reviewing property, debts and loans, any insurance policies, and expenses. Once you've had a chance to review all of this, it might also be a great opportunity to have a conversation with them about where all of their different accounts are located. Is this a good strategy? Are these asset mixes currently matching what their risk profile is? You can have some initial conversations here in the dashboard chart about all of that. The next thing I would suggest is navigating over to your timeline. The timeline is where you're going to have bigger picture conversations about their long-term goals and different major life events that they want to start planning for. So for example, you can deselect any of the people in the plan. So say you want to have an initial conversation about Jane, what we're planning for her. She wants to do a kitchen remodel at age 50. We have her currently retiring at 65, and then kind of slowing down on their travel and spending expenses around age 75. Are there any other major life goals that she wants to plan for? Does she want to move her different events to different times in the plan? And you can do any of that by either clicking and dragging to change the timing, or double clicking anywhere on the timeline to add additional events and goals, or you can go here to your plus button in the bottom right to add additional information. And then you can build up and talk about the different people in the plan. Does John still want to buy a boat when he retires? And do we need to do any additional planning outside of Franklin's college expenses? You can review really quickly where they're currently at with all of their goals. So currently, in their current position without any additional planning, they are looking like they would be able to achieve about 90% of their spending goals in retirement and about 71% of their travel goals. Moving next over to the Let's See screen, let's go first to our single chart. This is where you're going to have conversations about cash flow planning. And it might be a great idea here to give your clients just a little bit of background into what cash flow planning is and what these different charts mean. By turning on the details, you can hide all and just show the expense profile of their plan. So these are all the various expenses in their plan, including any general living expenses, debts and loans, taxes, and any goals that we've entered, like the kitchen remodel and the boat purchase that we have in here, as well as you'll see a little uptick here in their expenses. This is going to be when their son is in college. So having a conversation here about how we are planning and helping them meet all of these expenses throughout the lifetime of their plan. I would suggest starting with the income that is more fixed, like their employment and Social Security, and then going in and adding in slowly how the planning that you're doing is helping them meet these additional expenses. So we have our taxable savings, our university savings for Franklin, and the retirement savings in their qualified accounts. And then you can have a conversation about what you want to talk to today is what we're going to do to help them achieve all of their goals and get them a little bit more security later in their retirement. You can use the Zoom function here. By turning that on, you can select a specific stage in the plan. So if you wanted to talk about what's going on in their accumulation phase, so this is where they are in their life stage right now. Hovering over any bar in the chart, you can see that based on their reported expenditure, they have quite a bit of surplus income. So maybe this is a great opportunity to have conversations about, do we have a correct reflection of your annual expenditure? Is this actually the surplus income that you're left with at the end of the year? And maybe some ideas for how you can use that income more productively to help them meet all of their goals here in the later retirement stage. You can also use these arrows to click and look at different charts. So you could use the back arrow to look at the taxes. And I'll turn my zoom back off so we can look at the full picture. If you hover over the final bar in the chart, you can see cumulative taxes for the lifetime of the plan. And then you can also see how their taxes look in the retirement years. Or you can use the assets chart to have a conversation with them about what's going to be left in their plan at the end. So if you wanted to pull out the property and just look at liquid assets, you can click on that non-liquid section right there. Take a look at what's left in the plan at age 83, and all we have left is their emergency fund savings account because all of their qualified and taxable accounts have been depleted due to spending. And then the next thing I would suggest is, depending on your client's situation, you might want to have a conversation with them about legacy. So this couple has a small child, so maybe we do want to talk about their estate and what they would be passing to their child. They don't currently have any estate tax that they would be expected to pay on their estate at the end, but how much would they be transferring to their son? We can see 1.6 million. If you wanted to see the details of that, you can see that's coming primarily from this property in the plan, and then they have their 20,000 in their emergency fund at the end of the year. You can also look at the scenario where one dies today, and is how much money would they be leaving to their spouse or partner. And again, turning on little dots and dashes here, you can see a breakdown of what's included in that. So we've got the savings and investments amount, the 50% of the property and then their life insurance policy if it is going to fall into the term of that policy. It'll trigger that death benefit. And then you can also look at what happens if they both die today and what would they be leaving their son with. We have the 2.1 million here that would be passing to Franklin after tax, and you can again turn on your dots and dashes to see the breakdown. We've got their liquid assets, their property, and then the death benefits on their life insurance policies. So this might be important to a couple who has some concerns about estate planning. It would really just depend on your client's situation whether or not you wanted to have too much of a conversation about legacy. The next thing I would suggest is before your clients come in, you have gone through our insights and developed a plan for what you want to discuss with them as far as recommendations. But after you've done that, you can also use these as great visual tools for examples of why you're making the recommendations that you're making. So for example, this client does have a traditional 401k in the plan. Do we want to look at how a Roth conversion might affect their plan? You could run this Roth conversion simulation, click get started, and just see really quickly and give your clients a visual of what that would do. So it gives them an estimated total tax savings of $95,000, and there's $186,000 of future shortfalls prevented. You can compare that against the current position. So we have our insight, which is showing the Roth conversion, and then their current position, which just keeps their funds in that traditional 401k. If you wanted to look at the cumulative taxes at the end of the plan, you can see the difference is about 100,000 in difference between the two. And then going over to your cash flow, you can see that buys them a couple more years of liquidity before they start running into shortfall. So that may be part of a recommendation. You could also take a look at their annual savings. We saw quite a bit of surplus in the pre-retirement years. So how much more do they need to save annually between now and retirement to get rid of that shortfall in the future? Let's run this with the client so they can visually see how that might help them. 11,880 is the value that we're given. And if we compare that to the plan that they are in today with their current position, you can see how that buys them a lot more peace of mind in the later years. And they still are estimated to have quite a bit of shortfall or surplus to work with in their pre-retirement years. Same thing for our retirement spending. So if saving more is not an option, maybe we want to look at reducing the amount we're spending in retirement. This will give you a figure that is in today's terms. It's going to be a total amount in today's terms that they could spend annually in retirement to spend down their assets to near liquid or near zero and run their liquid assets down to near zero. And you can again take a look at that comparative plan. By spending less, we're getting rid of that shortfall in the future. So based on the strategy that you want to present to them, I would definitely make sure you've run through a few of these and just are ready to explain what the results are. You can also have conversations when they get later in life about when do we want to start taking Social Security, what would a long-term care event look like in your plan. You can also turn off different goals. So if they have a bunch of things in their plan that maybe are not priorities for them, like this kitchen remodel and the boat, what if we took those out of the plan? Would that solve their problems? And you can look at the results. So it doesn't fully solve their problems, but it does get them a little bit closer to meeting their goals. Once you've created the what if scenario based on your recommendations, you'll be able to see it here in the top right. And you can always select manage plans to change the names of your what if scenarios if you want to customize them. And then when you're ready to present your recommendation, you can go back to the Let's See, Compare Plans chart view, and then we can look at our current position in juxtaposition against what we're recommending. So in this example, I'm using the annual savings insight value. We're adding that additional savings into their brokerage account each year, and now we can show them how we are preventing that shortfall in the future. And again, really driving home the value of our advice and how that's helping them get what they're trying to go in the future. You can also look again at your assets and show them how much longer with this Save More recommendation plan their liquid assets are going to last in the plan. And then lastly, I wanted to take a look at our reports section. So this is something that you can send with your clients after you've had these conversations. If you want to create a report set that you use frequently, you can do so by selecting Create Report Set. You can give it a name and then select your favorite reports for the scenario that you're looking at and make sure to send that with the clients. So let's do a simple example of this, and then you can look at the report from the current position and do the Savings More plan and do the same thing where we've created a report set, and I'm going to do cash flow, assets, and taxes simple. Let's just call this early retirement planning. I'm going to click done, and then now that will be a report set I can choose from at any time. And so if I wanted to do the early retirement planning report based on my Save More recommendation plan, I can add that in by simply selecting any of the reports that I want. And then if you want to customize any of these, you can anywhere you see this customized cog, you can select or deselect different items that you want to show or not show in the report. You can also select or deselect different goals that you want to show. And then if you have a client who is really early in the planning phase, maybe you don't want to show 50 years of cash flow, detailed reports year by year. Maybe you want to do just the next 10 years. You can put in a time span of 2024 to 2034, or you can go to select years and do every fifth year or the first 5 years and make a more simplified report so that you're not dealing with many, many, many pages of cash flow planning data that might change far into the future. So just to review, I would start on your dashboard, go to your preferences, and make sure your inline help and dashboard chart are turned off. Review the data in the plan with your clients, make any updates or changes that you need to, and then go to your timeline. This is where you're going to spend the majority of your conversations talking about what their life goals are, what we're planning for, what we want to do in the future, and how we're helping them get there. Let's See is where you can review the assets and cash flow planning and have conversations with them about any ideas you see based on this. For example, with the surplus income here in these early years, you can turn on the Zoom option and select a specific phase so you can have conversations based on specific times in their lives, and you can turn that back off. You do also have the option to present in real money that will pull all inflation out of the plan. You can use your legend to hide all and bring things back in slowly while you're having that conversation to really build the visual of the story you're trying to tell. Depending on your client's concerns, go to your legacy screen and have conversations with them, not only about their legacy as it stands today, but maybe what the difference would be if they saved more based on your recommendations, how that might change their estate legacy at the end of the day. And then insights is where you're going to have conversations about the different solutions that you have for them in the plan. And you can also even run some life needs right here if you want to double check and make sure that they have enough life insurance in the plan if one of them were to die today. What if is where you will have already created the recommendation plan, and you'll be able to see that here in the top right. And when you're ready to present your recommendations, go back to Let's See, compare plans chart view, and you're going to have conversations based on their current position versus what your recommendations are for them. You can look at cash flow versus assets, also taxes, and compare and contrast the different advantages and disadvantages to different strategies. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions following up this webinar, please do reach out to me at support@planwithvoyant.com. You can also send me a question about a specific plan by clicking the name of your client in the top right and requesting support. This will bring up a little text box where you can enter your question and share the plan with me so that I can take a look. And also, I just wanted to let you all know that I'm more than happy to do individual sessions with you guys if you want to review a specific plan, prepare for a specific presentation, or just better understand the software so you can feel more comfortable with it. I hope that this was helpful. Please do reach out to us if we can help with anything else. And I hope to see you at our next webinar next Thursday. Thank you.